Will Lavin is a 2019 Raider graduate. During his time at Hastings High School, he was involved in baseball, where he was a two-time letter winner, playing second base, third base, and pitching. After high school, he attended Bemidji State University, where he pitched for 4 years. Because of COVID, Will was able to play one more season, where he transferred to the University of Illinois, helping his team win the Big Ten regular season. Will gives a great interview where he highlights his improvement process throughout college and talks about how sports has had a positive impact on his life. All right, here we are with Will Lavin. Will, I always like to start at the beginning of someone's life, so let's start at the beginning of your life. Let's hear about your mom and your dad. If you had any brothers or sisters, let's hear about them too. Did you guys always live in Hastings? Did you eventually move to Hastings? Once again, let's hear about your life growing up.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me. I actually was born and grew up in Richfield, Minnesota until I was about 4 or 5 years old. Then we moved to Hastings, and so I did all my schooling in Hastings. Parents are Mike and Lori, and I have one sibling, McKinley. She's 2 years older than me. So I grew up, everything I remember is from Hastings. But yeah, I did start my life in Richfield, which not too far away. So yeah, I went to Kennedy then. That was my first school I went to.
Yeah, that's always my next question here. I like hearing about the schools you attended in Hastings, and obviously most people go to the middle and high school, but I really like hearing about the elementary schools as well. And you don't have to talk about every teacher you had from every grade level, but if there's a certain teacher that each school that really had a big impact on you, you could talk about multiple teachers from each school. But once again, if there's a teacher or two that had a really big impact on you, let's hear about those teachers.
Yeah, I still remember my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Cobian, pretty well. She she made class really fun, and we got to had believe we did a couple plays for either the grade or the school, and I remember that was just super cool time. You got out of your comfort zone a little bit too, which is good, especially at that age, and that's an elementary school teacher that I definitely remember having growing up.
Anyone at the middle and high school that really stuck out as well for you?
At the middle school and high school, I liked all my teachers. I never really had a bad experience. I never remember going home and having a bad experience with a teacher. You were my teacher for health class, which was always great. In ninth
Mhm.
grade, I remember that. That was a lot of fun. And I it was such a great experience. I think every single grade, every class, it was I never had a bad experience. I never remember dreading going to a certain class. Everyone made it a good learning experience, and I think that really helped a lot.
Perfect. Next thing I like hearing about, Will, is the sports you played growing up. So typically, when I got alumni on here like yourself, we stop somewhere around the 8th or ninth grade level. That's when some people start playing a JV level or maybe at the high school as well. Once again, let's hear about the sports you played growing up, and then we could stop right before you hit that high school level.
Yes. So growing up, I played all the sports, tried everything. Flag football, I remember playing that. I actually tried wrestling in 2nd and 3rd grade. My dad was a big wrestler in high school. He tried getting me into it, and I quickly figured out it's not a sport for me. It just didn't work out for me very well. It was cool to try it, and then played baseball, t-ball growing up. Got to Little Raiders for football. That was my first time experiencing tackle football. I was I was on the smaller side as a kid growing up, a little bit of a late bloomer. So got hit around a little bit in Little Raiders. It was still a fun time. I loved playing football. I was like a backup quarterback. I always had a pretty good arm, but I wasn't starting at that position, so I played a little bit of wide receiver. I remember scoring a couple touchdowns, but nothing too crazy in Little Raiders, and that's when I stopped playing football as well, actually. So after 6th grade, I fully focused on baseball. It was the one sport I truly loved and wanted to keep playing.
Perfect. So let's go through your high school career. Obviously, you just talked about mainly playing baseball, but if there's any other sports you picked up at the high school level or tried, we could hear about them as well. I like starting off in that freshman year, fall season, going to winter, and then going to the spring season. And then once again, if you didn't play any sports in those other seasons, you don't have to really talk about them. Once again, let's go through your high school career and we'll go year by year and hear about any individual accomplishments that you had with your sports you played. If you're all conference, if you're multiple time letter winner, if you're captain of the team, all state, school records, anything along those lines. And then there's any team accomplishments as well. So your team won a couple section games or made it to the section finals or set the school record for wins or once again, anything along the lines with team accomplishments or any other cool stories that stick out from year to year at your high school career. Let's do that.
Yeah. So I always just, all 4 years, just played baseball. Although I played a lot of pickup basketball and kind of wish I would have tried playing that in the winter. I always regret not giving that a shot, but a pretty memorable moment that year actually was one of my first varsity outings. I got the win against Woodbury, and they were coming off, I think, either the state title or pretty close. And it was our first time beating Woodbury in a while. So that was super cool. I remember that. That was a big win for us. And we had a great team that year. I don't know what our record was exactly, but we were looking really good. Unfortunately, we went 0-2 in sections, which was unfortunate. But yeah, that was a super good year. I mostly pitched. I think I got maybe 5 to 10 outings on the mound. So I pitched a little bit. There are a lot of shorter relief outings, but didn't really get any time at second base. Got a couple at bats, got my feet wet with that, but mostly pitched that year. Then that summer in Legion, same group of guys, the guys that graduated moved on, but we still had a big core of juniors. In the sophomore class that year was really good. We had a super good Legion season. I actually switched over to third base that Legion year. So I made that adjustment and it ended up going pretty well. It helped me with my arm strength and kind of started building even a stronger arm. So when we get to my senior year of varsity, I got to start every game at third base actually. And that was another adjustment, just only playing third base for that summer prior. But it went well. I got to play third, I hit pretty good, and I was our closer on the mound, go in for 1-2 innings, close the game. I don't remember ever starting a game on the mound, but got quite a bit of appearances. Pretty cool game was, I think it was Hill Murray. We beat 7-6. I got a clutch 2 RBI, go ahead RBI hit, and then got to go out and close the game. So that was super fun. I remember my mom saving the little newspaper article with my picture on it. And that was a pretty cool feeling after that game, going home and enjoying that one. And then again, pretty good season, but we went 0-2 in sections. So I ended up going 0-4 in sections my high school career for varsity. And then at the end of the year get together, my teammates voted me most improved player, which was pretty cool. Just a recognition for the work I kept putting in without playing a ton my junior year. And then I got all conference honorable mention, I believe. My hitting wasn't always the greatest. I think that held me back a little bit, but I had a pretty good year on the mound, which was nice. So that kind of is my high school career in a nutshell right there. It was mostly just baseball.
Yeah. I usually talk about college a little bit later, but we can go right into college and we can hear about that. So I really like hearing about the recruiting trips that a lot of kids go on and how they really narrow down their decision and what they really saw in each of those schools. So let's go through what the recruiting process looked like. And then I know you bounced around to a few different places and had a lot of great opportunities. So we can go through your whole college career as well.
Yeah. So I, in March of my senior year, I started looking at universities just to go to as a student. This is before I really played much varsity baseball and I wanted to get a head start on just finding a school. And then after a few games on the mound, all of a sudden I got a couple texts from some college coaches and I was like, realized maybe this is a real possibility. I can play baseball in college. I never really thought of it as a possibility before then. So there's a lot of smaller schools, but pretty good programs that I was looking into. I remember lacrosse, Wisconsin lacrosse in the school kind of reaching out to me. A couple of other schools like Luther in Iowa, St. Scholastica. I only went on one actual visit to the University of St. Thomas. Their coach reached out to me, and I don't remember the full story, but I think they were there to recruit another guy when we were playing St. Thomas Academy. And I came in and pitched an inning. I think I was up to 85, 86 miles an hour. And all of a sudden I get a text from him. Hey, we'd love to show you around campus. So got out of class early, went to a visit and met with the coach. And this was just, I think, a week or so after they announced they were going to switch to Division One, which wasn't going to be for another year or two, but it was out there. And he told me like there was a lot of uncertainty with the future, and they had a JV team for college as well. And he's like, that's where they'd see me fit. They saw a lot of potential in me. They're like, I just wasn't physically mature enough or ready to compete at the college level, especially with them switching to Division One. But they definitely wanted me to join their program. And I wasn't in love with the school. It was really nice, and the facilities were unbelievable. But just with that uncertainty, I decided not to do that. And I really wanted to go to Bemidji as a student. And I had my coach reach out to them, and I got a phone call with the head coach at Bemidji, and they pretty much offered me like a preferred walk-on. So I went up there and met him right before school. I was enrolled to go there as a student, and he pretty much all he told me was pretty short. Was we can guarantee you a roster spot for a year. That's all. They're like, you'll be on the team. And I was willing to bet on myself and take that because I love the school for more than just the baseball program. So I played regular that summer, Legion, played third base all year, would come in and pitch. And then I get up to campus in the fall, just pretty wide-eyed, excited to see what a college program was like. They're in the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference, NSIC, which is Division II. I didn't really do any research on the program, but they're a struggling program at the time. And so maybe a good place for some opportunity. And I get there right away. I did a lot of weightlifting. I did a lot of weightlifting at the Y. I'd walk there after school, but I never took advantage of the programs the high school offered with Spark, which looking back would also have been a great thing to do. But so I get to campus and we have a strength coach, and that first couple weeks it was so tough on me physically. I remember I could hardly walk getting up the stairs to the cafeteria after weeks or two. I didn't know what a front squat really was. So it was hard. Those first few weeks were really hard. But I told myself I'm going to work as hard as I can and give it the best shot I can at this. And things started to stack up pretty well for me. I was getting stronger, I was getting heavier, and I started throwing harder. And it was the first time I was really working on pitching because they pretty quickly told me I was just going to be a pitcher up there. And I agreed. I liked it. I think pitching was going to be a good opportunity for me. So I get up there in the fall. I threw some pretty good bullpens. I think I was up to like 86 or 87 and quickly realized that I can definitely pitch for this team, which that gave me that sense of confidence that I can really do this and not doubt myself. And my first time facing a college hitter, we had a scrimmage against the University of Minnesota Crookston. They're about an hour away, so we play them every fall. And the first batter I played hit about a 400-foot home run off. I still think it's just hilarious because it just brought me back to reality really quick that there are some really good ball players out there anywhere. So I I ended up getting some outs, but definitely struggled quite a bit. And then we get to winter, and you kind of get some time to decompress, still train and throw. And we're getting into our first season. My first season, I was really anxious, and I made the traveling roster for the first weekend. Our first series was at US Bank Stadium against Rockhurst, which is a small Division II school in Missouri. So I got my parents came out, some family, because it's nice and close there at US Bank. I didn't get in that first series, which was a kind of a bummer. I remember being really disappointed about that, but it was probably good just to see some baseball games at the college level. And then we play a few more weekends. I get to make my first outing at William Jewell, another Division II, and I threw 2 scoreless innings, which really gave me some confidence that I can do this. And I remember that kind of being a breakthrough moment for me that, okay, I just made my collegiate debut. Yeah, I can do this. I'm a college pitcher. And I ended up making 3 or 4 appearances and do pretty well. I had one bad outing, and then all of a sudden COVID happened. And we were in Arizona on our spring break trip when that happened. So I got picked up from the airport when we get back, and I never ended up going back to campus that year. So all of a sudden my season was shut down. Nothing, it just everything at a halt at once, just like that. So and then this is where a lot of my progress happened. So instead of laying around being disappointed, I decided I was going to train as hard as I can until it starts back up and I can get back to campus. So I got as many baseballs as I could gather, and I'd walk to the park and I threw every day. I should have taken some rest days, but I think I threw every day for almost 200 days straight. And I wrote my own little throwing program and did as much research as I could, just trying to build as much arm strength as possible. And then I lifted with one of my really good friends, my neighbor, in his garage. They had some weights in their garage because the gyms were closed. So I was just getting as strong as possible and working on my throwing. I'd set up my phone and record myself, analyze my mechanics, became my own coach, which I've learned your own best coach at times. So that helped a lot. And I just did that. I was consistent as I could. I did yoga every night. I wouldn't let myself go to bed till I did yoga, and really worked on my mobility, health, got as strong as possible. When we finally get back to campus, school's online, but they're like, sports are going to happen this year. And my first bullpen, I was 90 to 91. And I was just unbelievable. I was like, this is crazy. So all of a sudden I got pretty good that year in the fall. I was throwing hard. I struggled with strikes though, because I gained all this muscle and was throwing harder. I didn't have great control of my body, but I was the pitcher to watch for the team after only 3 or 4 ever collegiate outings, and I was a redshirt freshman. So I got the opening day start my sophomore year, and I didn't make it out of the first inning. I think I walked 5 batters. So, you know, it was mentally really hard on me that year. Sum it up, I had some really good outings. I remember one outing in particular, I went 6 innings, 2 runs against a really good St. Cloud team. We still lost. We really struggled that year, and it was the last year of my head coach's tenure at Bemidji, but I had some really good outings. I got my first win against Duluth. I started on the midweeks because of, I think we had a weather, and a weekend series got canceled. And so it was our last series. I threw on Wednesday, and then I closed the game Saturday because it was our final game, and I got the win. So I ended on a high note, but it was a tough year. I really struggled. I started every weekend. I've never started a baseball game before on the mound. So it was a huge adjustment, all thrown at me at once, but it was good. It was good for me. It got ton of experience, especially in college. I think experience is such a valuable thing. And then I played town ball that summer, started just got more practice, kind of got to work on things a little less pressure situation. And my junior year, we got a new pitching coach and a new head coach. So the whole new program. And the same thing, I was selected the pitcher to watch, got the opening day start, had a really good start. I remember I threw a one hitter, gave up a run, but we lost 1-0. Took another loss, and but tried to always keep my head high and move on to the next game as soon as that one was over. Kept a good attitude. A lot of ups and downs. Highlight of that year is I was picked conference pitcher of the week. I went 7 shutout innings with 9 or 10 strikeouts. So that was the first time Bemidji's had a pitcher of the week in 10 years. So that was a really cool accomplishment, but still couldn't just be a consistent pitcher. I couldn't hone in the craft to be a really consistent pitcher every week, but I knew I had the skill to do it. And so that's how that year went. Then I get to my fourth year at Bemidji. So I'm graduating as a senior, but my junior year of eligibility. And we get a new pitching coach again. So just a lot of changes in the program every year. And there's a lot of inconsistency with that, which made it difficult. And I was fortunate to have a good fall, started throwing harder, got picked as the pitcher to watch for Bemidji and got the opening day start again. And I had a much better year this year with as far as getting deeper into games and a lot of strikeouts, but kind of really still struggled on putting together really quality starts as a starter. But I had some good outings. I think I almost got the win against Augustana, who was a top 10 nationally ranked team, and we were really struggling. I think we had a really poor record again, but try to just bring hope to the team anytime I was on the mound that we can win this game. And it was cool. It was really cool that I got to just cap off 4 years at Bemidji and still have another year of eligibility. And so I decided to enter the transfer portal after Bemidji, my senior year, and had a lot of uncertainty after that. So that was my career at Bemidji, just to sum it up there.
Yeah, then we could get right into the other stuff as well, because I know,
Yeah.
you had a lot of opportunities after Bemidji as well.
Yeah, so I wanted to really play in the Northwoods League, which is one of the top collegiate leagues in the summer for all for just college players. And there wasn't a lot of connections at Bemidji for that. So what I did is I emailed every single team in the league, my name, a little resume about myself. And I got, I think, 4 teams to respond, which is great. 2 of them offered me a full season contract. And so I took it with the Rochester Honkers, which was nice and close, but it was still too far away to live at home. So I lived with the host family. And that was definitely the most fun summer I've ever had. It was unbelievable. It was such a good group of guys, and they came from every college in the country pretty much. And it was a lot of really talented ball players. And just playing with a team like that, everything started to click for me. I had started as a relief pitcher, and I just kept building up where eventually like, you got to start for us. So I went back to starting towards the end of the summer, but just got to meet so many cool guys from so many different universities, really big universities. But I'm going to trace back a little bit. So I entered the transfer portal, and it was crazy. Right away, I didn't hear much at all, because I got to go in order a little bit here. So I entered the transfer portal at the end of the season in May. It was like May 10th. I didn't hear much because it was just my Bemidji resume at the time, which I had really good strikeouts. I had I think I was second all time in school history for strikeouts, first all time school history for like strikeouts per nine. But my numbers weren't very good. But I threw pretty hard. So I only had a couple small Division Ones reach out, and I wanted to experience the Division One school. So I just committed right away to a small Division One, Western Illinois at the time. And so I was super happy with that. I'm like, it'll be a good opportunity. It's a small school. I don't know a ton about it, but I was like, it'll be cool just to play in the Ohio Valley Conference, pretty good conference. And I get to the Northwoods, and about 2 weeks in, I got my first Northwoods pitcher of the night, where I went 4 shutout innings in relief with 8 strikeouts. And some of my teammates are telling me, like, you can go to a way bigger school. You can go to a bigger program. You're like, your stuff is unbelievable. And the coach actually left at Western Illinois, which kind of allowed me to decommit and enter the transfer portal again. So I took a leap of faith, trusted my teammates a little bit with this one, and decided to decommit. And after I decommitted with my Northwoods numbers and got a little bit more video, higher quality video, better metrics on my fastball, I was 91, 95 at the time in relief and start, as a starter and in relief. My phone pretty much instantly blew up from posting on Twitter and from emails. Probably ended up hearing from over 30 schools over the next 3-4 weeks. And it was pretty overwhelming, but my parents were like, just enjoy it. Just enjoy this moment. It's a really cool feeling. But I had to start just telling schools no, that I didn't think were going to be good fits, and made a spreadsheet of the schools that had the best offers and the best opportunity for me. And the school I really fell in love with was Butler at the time. I loved the coaches. Big East is a good conference. They gave me a great offer, and it would have been a good opportunity. But by the time I made the decision and committed, it would have been too late to get into the school, which the coaches didn't really know that at the time either. So they felt pretty bad because I committed, they agreed to it. And then all of a sudden, a week later, I was having trouble with admissions. And I don't know if that was partially because of how really academically strong that school is. And I got good grades in college, better than in high school. I really learned to be self-motivated on the academic side as well. And so this is early August now, and I had to decommit from Butler. And I thought I was going to have a school to play with. And this is just coming after I actually got selected to the Northwoods All-Star game, which was in front of like 25 MLB scouts, college coaches, was nationally televised on ESPNU. And I was the starting pitcher in the All-Star game, which was such a fun experience with all these cameras, tons of events. They did dueling pianos before the game. It was so much fun. I got the start through a clean inning, got out of there, just one inning. They just had everyone throw one inning. It was such a cool experience with all these different guys and making a ton of great connections. So I had that going for me. So I felt pretty good. But after I decommitted, I heard from a lot of schools that I was still interested in, but the money's gone now, so we can offer you a walk-on. And then the University of Illinois hit me up, and they gave me a nice offer and were willing to work with the short timing and wanted me on the team. So I instantly took that without knowing much about what the University of Illinois had to offer. And that ended up being the greatest decision I ever made. So now this is just last year. I'm packing everything up in about a week and a half and driving 8 hours down to Champaign to join the University of Illinois. So I get there in the fall and met all the guys, got to know them, and it was unbelievable. Like, we had our own indoor baseball facility. It was like an entire infield with a little bit of outfield for an indoor for just us. We had our own clubhouse and everything. I was just like wide-eyed shocks every day walking in for so long. Just, this is crazy. And met all the guys that are great. And first scrimmage, I struggled pretty bad. I remember doubting myself after that. I'm like, am I even gonna pitch here? Am I good enough? And it was a tough ball. It was, I struggled a lot actually that fall, being who I was just a few months ago that summer. I was just trying so hard not to fail that I wasn't succeeding a lot. And that winter break was really good for me. I got to breathe a little bit, slow down, and got to just take my time, soak everything in that I've learned. And then I came back that after that winter break in January, and we started February like 15th or 16th. So we had about, it wasn't a lot of time. It was about 5 weeks before the season. And I threw pretty well indoors. And luckily we were south enough. I think I got outside once or twice and got to throw. Where at Bemidji, I was always throwing inside before the first game where we'd bust 12 hours south and throw. So that was a nice adjustment as well. And so then we get to the season, and I was feeling pretty good because I throw pretty well, and made my Division I debut against the University of Akron. I threw the 8th and 9th inning in a 1-run game, so it was pretty stressful, but got out of that. So we went to extras, but it was just nice, good feeling to get that. We were down in Wake Forest playing Akron and Wake Forest that first weekend. And that was a cool stadium. We played Wake Forest Saturday night. Like, the environment was unbelievable. It was really cool experiencing that first weekend. What that trip was like, flying for the first time for baseball and experiencing that. So got that under my belt, threw pretty well. And then I carried that momentum and started off the year really well. I had a couple good outings. I was just a kind of a bridge reliever at Illinois. I threw 1, 2, most I ever threw was 3 innings. So I made a lot of short appearances, and first like 5 weekends, I got in every weekend and found some success pretty early on. Threw well against the University of Cincinnati. I remember that was one of my first second or third outing at the University of Illinois, and I threw 2 really clean innings. And I remember my coach coming up to me and telling me if I keep throwing like that, I'll be in great shape, I think is what he told me. Started feeling confidence in myself, and then it hit me a little bit. I started getting hit pretty hard, and definitely I struggled a little bit towards the middle of the season. I lost a little bit of confidence again, and just had to remember to trust all the work I've put in, know that I knew that I belonged, and I started throwing well again. I remember I had a really good outing at Maryland where I threw 2 2/3 scoreless. That was a really fun trip, going out east for the first time. And then one outing that I always remember that sticks with me is on senior day, we were home. I was there, and I threw three really good innings. That was my longest outing in college against Iowa, and my family was there to see that. So that was a lot of fun. It was just such a great experience. I threw every single weekend except one. So I got in a ton. I made 19 appearances that season. I just had so many memorable moments that in this last year. Just my first ever win at Division I level was Friday night against Penn State. Came in, struck out both batters I faced to get out of the inning, then we take the lead. It was so much fun. Just everywhere we got to travel and just see so many cool ballparks, play against some really cool teams, and put together a really good season. So it was a lot of fun. And we ended up sweeping Purdue in our final series to win the Big Ten regular season championship. So that was definitely the coolest moment. of the whole season. So I remember on the bus ride home after that, we're all getting passing around like this tool, all getting fitted for our rings that we were going to get in the next fall. And then we had the selection show where we all we went to some local restaurant. They had a couple cameras set up. They had one TV that was like delayed so we could watch after, and one that was live. And then all of a sudden, when we got picked into the Lexington regional against the University of Kentucky, they showed us and we're all clapping and we're on ESPN. So much fun. So we got to the regional. It was us, Kentucky, Indiana State, and Western Michigan. And we won our first game against Western Michigan and then lost Saturday night against the University of Kentucky. And that was the craziest environment. It was Saturday night regional against the number 2 team in the country. It was so much fun. And then we unfortunately lost to end our season against Indiana State. Got to pitch in that game, so it was cool to pitch in the regional. That capped off my college career then for baseball that season. There's so many different things to highlight. I could talk about it forever. It's such a fun year.
Yeah, no, I think biggest thing, there's many takeaways I could have from your high school and your college career, but I think one of the coolest things that you talked about, in my opinion, is you went from being a preferred walk-on to Bemidji, as you described it, a struggling Division II, and you go from a preferred walk-on to a Division I baseball player in the span of 5 years. I think that's really cool. You talked about weightlifting every single day, throwing 200 days straight throughout that COVID, spring, summertime too. Tons of weightlifting, as I just said. If you had to maybe nail down one thing, I know it probably doesn't come down to one thing, Will, that really made the biggest difference. Once again, going from the coach saying, hey, you could, 1 year guaranteed here at Bemidji still pitching at the University of Illinois, but talk about maybe 1 to 2 things, or if you think you have one thing that made the biggest difference, that improvement process for all those 4 to 5 years. What do you think it would be for you?
I'd say consistency. I think just showing up every day and putting in the work. There were so many days where the last thing I wanted to do was go lift weights or go throw by myself at the park, and every 20 throws go retrieve the balls and do it all again. It was just the discipline that I had for myself, that this is my one shot at it and I'm going to work as hard as I can and make the most of it. I think what it really boiled down to was just consistency and the discipline of making sure I show up for myself every single day and show up for my teammates every day. And even when I got to Bemidji, I remember I made a lot of sacrifices to make sure I would get up early, so I was ready to go for our team workout. I'm not tired. I was fueled. I was energized, so I'd make the most of every lift. I would even, if there was nights after a long road trip where I need to throw, I don't blame the guys, but no one really wanted to throw. Probably after an 8-hour bus ride, I would go throw in the net or something. Or that next morning, I'd go throw in the net. Just made sure that I just stayed consistent and didn't fall into a pattern of being willing to miss a couple days because it wouldn't really matter. I didn't want to ever get into that habit. So I just made sure to always just stick to that foundation.
Perfect. Yeah. I think that consistency is awesome that you're talking about there. And towards the end of the interview, we always look for advice for student athletes. And I think that consistency would be a really good thing for student athletes to hear about. Because obviously you talked about probably playing baseball in high school. It was a really fun sport. You talked a lot about being with your buddies that you grew up with and you're hanging out. And then once again, you didn't really think you maybe were going to play baseball at a college level. And then I just really like how you talked about that consistency as you just did the weightlifting, which once again, you talked about not really taking it seriously in high school and maybe not really looking for those opportunities in high school. And once again, that really helped you jump that first level when you got to school. And I like when you said you didn't even know what a front squat was. So that was pretty good too. The weightlifting is huge. So once again, I'm just trying to pick out some major points here for any student athletes that might be listening to this. So younger middle school kids, some high school kids as well. The weightlifting is just a huge piece of it as well. I love how you talked about yoga, really honing in your craft. And as you just talked about right now, which is super important, A lot of people will probably head home after a game and really not think about it or really invest back in themselves after a game. And you really did that every single time. So I think that's really huge things that you talked about there, Will.
Yeah, it's like you said, definitely not one thing, but it all funnels down to that consistency and discipline of just showing up every day. And it won't make a difference after one day, but it definitely will after 100 days.
Compounding effect, as some people say. Yeah. So it just keeps on adding and compounding on itself. Perfect. So you graduated from the University of Illinois. You had a lot of opportunities before that and really didn't know where you're going to go. But let's hear about your process or what's been happening after that as well. So catch us up from you walk across the stage at Illinois to where we are today.
Yeah, so I wanted to keep playing baseball, so I played that summer in the Northwoods little bit. I really wanted to just give myself a shot of signing with an organization, but that never happened. And I accepted that and really enjoyed what I did in my baseball career. So I was like ready to move on to that next chapter in my life. So I started looking for jobs, moved back home. I hadn't been working in a couple of years because baseball was my job. I always told myself. And I've been working now for about 9 months with Vermilion Bank, and I'm in their loan department now. So been doing some lending for them at the bank, and I really enjoyed that. And now starting a new routine of working every day and getting learning new responsibilities and still making sure I have fun like I did when I played baseball, but also now getting into that next chapter of working and growing up a little bit from college, but it's been great. I really liked it.
Are you playing any town ball still in the summer times?
Yeah, I'm gonna play with Meesville this summer, Mud Hens. I think that'll be fun. I love their stadium, and I work with a guy that plays for him, so he talks about how fun it was with me. So play with them just down in Meesville this summer, which it'll be fun. I can't wait to get back on the ball field. I think it starts in a couple of weeks. I'm super stoked.
Perfect. So the last thing we always do on here, Will, is we look for advice for parents, coaches, and our student athletes. So that first group that we look at is our parents and coaches thinking back on your 2 years playing high school baseball, varsity baseball in Hastings. You had 4 years in Bemidji. You're playing in the Northwood Leagues for Rochester, going through the recruiting process and the transfer portal to Western Illinois to Butler and ended up at University of Illinois. You have a ton of great experiences here at the high school and the college level. If you had to give parents and coaches just a few pieces of advice, what do you think it would be?
First thing for like parents and coaches is I think make sure to always keep it fun for these kids. I think when you take the fun out, some of the best athletes might not even playing that sport anymore. But it's obviously you want them to work hard and be disciplined and enjoy the game. But I think keep the fun in the game is important, even at the college level. But keep the fun in the game, and also I think just for parents and coaches, especially, is just especially high school level or even younger, is just give every kid an opportunity. I remember I told a lot like how I was always mentioned how small I was, and everyone develops at a different time. I definitely was not the best player at 12 years old. That I can confidently say, but every kid develops at a different time. Just give everyone a chance. You never know what could happen if you just let them have a chance and play and have fun. At the end of the day, you want to win. Winning is fun, but I just think keep the fun in the game. Give kids opportunities. You never want to doubt a kid because you don't know what they could do for you. So on any side, they could be great teammate, great player, just great locker room guy. So I think just overall, that's a good message I'd like to say because I think that's one thing that helped me a lot is just if it's like believing in every guy as a coach or a parent, not forcing them to do something they don't want to do.
I love that. Yeah, you just never know when kids are really going to peak. looking back on your high school career, I wrote a lot of notes down here, but you're going into your junior year and you're getting some pitching time. You're getting a few plate appearances. You're playing some second, maybe a little third here and there. And it's not obviously, someone wouldn't say that, like, thinking about where you ended up. It probably wasn't like that when you're in 11th grade. So it's just, you just never know when someone's going to peak. So it's just, I love how you said that too. Just never give up on anybody, and make sure you're always giving someone a chance to keep on finding success. I like that a lot. Now, once again, we're talking about our student athletes. We talked about a ton of weightlifting, yoga, and that big word that you use, consistency, as well. So if you want to talk about those when it comes to our student athletes, you could keep doing that, Will. Or if you want to talk about anything else when it comes to giving advice to our student athletes, you could talk about that.
Yeah. So to every student athlete at any age, I think, like I mentioned before, consistency and discipline is such an important piece to every athlete's success. Is 90% of the work is done behind the scenes, not on the field or during the actual game. So I think that's a real big thing that I think has a ton of value when becoming a successful athlete. And then also just believe in yourself. It's so mental. Any sport's just so mental, and believing in yourself and have the full confidence that you can do it, that you can be successful, and to trust all the work, trust the process, that you're here for a reason. You're in the game for a reason. The coach is counting on you, that you got your teammates behind you. And then last thing is just enjoy it, because it goes fast. You don't think about it in the moment. I remember as a freshman, and these seniors tell me that, oh, just, you're so lucky you're a freshman, just enjoy it. It goes so fast. Before you know it, it's over and can't play forever. So just enjoy it, live in the moment, enjoy the game, enjoy the relationships you build with your teammates, because they'll become your lifelong friends that you talk to every day. So that's a big thing I would say, is really enjoy it, have fun, enjoy it, because at the end of the day, it's a game. It's a sport you get to play. It's just a great experience.
Perfect. Will, that's all the questions I got for you tonight. Anything else, if you want to add in, any questions I forgot to ask you, anything you want to get off your chest, any shout outs you want to give, I always turn the microphone over to our guest, and anything you want to talk about here, once again, the microphone is yours.
Yeah, I guess I'll just wrap it up. Thank you for having me. This was really great. I'm super glad I got to do this. And I just recap like what I was just saying to student athletes, is playing a sport is so much fun. You never know where it'll take you. So just keep counting on yourself, count on your teammates. And you can learn so many qualities from a sport that carry you into the real world, with discipline, showing up every day, integrity, just being a well-rounded person, hardworking, leadership. So I think sports has just been such a big factor in my life, and I've really enjoyed everything that baseball has taught me outside of the sport itself. So it's fun, and I'm glad I got to start my career in Hastings. And so it was a lot of fun. Obviously, all my coaches have played a huge factor in where I've gotten, and I appreciate all my coaches, because they take time out of their day to help these student athletes get better. And coaches just make such a big impact on their lives that sometimes kid doesn't really show or say, because they don't understand maybe at the moment. They look back and realize how impactful a coach can be for you.
Perfect. Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
Awesome. Thanks, Will.